At no point during the following program will Unfucking the Planet or its subsidiaries suggest you go vegan or vegetarian. We promise.
300,000 years ago, a plague appeared in the eastern and southern parts of Africa. We're not sure exactly how it started, but we know that it spread quickly, killing off huge amounts of animal and plant life, contaminating water supplies, and eventually, even befouling the air. In almost no time, it spread to all 7 continents, wreaking a path of destruction and death not seen since the great extinction of the dinosaurs. And believe it or not, that plague is still right here, all around, because it is us. I mean, obviously we're the problem, but don't worry, we're also the solution. We can fix it. Maybe. Probably. Hey, I'm Hazel, and welcome to Unfucking the Planet. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to Unfucking the Planet yet, this is a great time to do that. And I'll even play the theme again. So yeah, our food supply is f***ed. About a third of the food we produce is wasted, 40% of our productive land is degraded, and we're already using half our habitable land for farming. Yeesh. And even though agriculture has a way bigger impact on the climate than transportation or electricity, the headlines aren't full of Tony Stark wannabe dweebs trying to invent, like, an electric cow or something. Agriculture as a problem is kind of invisible to us. We don't sweat it because, hey, you gotta eat, right? And look, a grocery store full of food. Problem solved! Farming is so overlooked as a climate problem that even the revered environmental economist William D. Nordhaus declared that since climate change only affects farming, and farming is only 3% of America's GDP, there was no need for panicky eco-action. Am I allowed to flip this table?
No.
Okay, imagine me flipping this table as I say the following. Hey, William, you mean farming? As in, how we get our f***ing food?
No.
Sure, it may be only 3% of the US's GDP, but it's also 20% of the warming, the second biggest polluter, and it's where we get 100% of our food. And we are producing enough food to feed 10 billion people, but 800 million people are starving. So why on this planet full of brilliant scientific minds haven't we invented our way out of this food problem? Well, what, really? Yeah, try it. Eat it? Yeah. The blue stuff. Don't be scared. I'm not scared. You look scared. It's the Botox. I'll look scared for a while, and then I'll look surprised, and then I'll look awesome. You're stalling. Yes. Okay. Hey, that's pretty good, right? And it's nutritious. Yes, blue goo is loaded with protein, full of vitamins, and it's grown from a genetically engineered algae that we can grow super efficiently and cheaply with minimal waste. It'll solve all of world hunger and like a quarter of climate change in one fell swoop. This is a game changer, right? Davis, fast track Project Blue Goo. I want 10,000 tons of this stuff available per day, stat. Yes, I want this beautiful blue goo in giant vats. Yes. And we're gonna feed it to the cows. Yes! Wait, what? Well, I'm not gonna eat that shit, but you're gonna cut our feed costs like in half. Great work, kiddo. Davis, fire up the grill. We're having steaks tonight. But, yes, that's right. We feed the majority of our food to our food so that that food can become even less food. And we need even more land for that. More than 80% of deforestation, like burning down the Amazon, is to clear more land for farming. And most of that deforestation is for meat, which provides only 18% of our food, 1/3 of which goes directly into the dumpster, which leads to one inevitable question.
What the is going on?
Well, part of the reason we're here is because the global economy and most of the largest governments in the world all bow down before the mighty power of big meat. Yes, Big Meat, my least favorite Sopranos character, is out there every day forcing more meat into our nutritional recommendations, convincing an entire generation that milk is the healthiest possible drink, even though over half of humans can't digest it, and pouring tons of money into hiding the link between meat and climate change. Oh, and they also lobbied for something called the ag gag, making it illegal for people to film inside factory farms, which is hilarious. Like, can you imagine that existing for any other type of farming?
Okay, I'm in. These are the images that Big Kale doesn't want you to see, America. If they could see this, America's vegans might think twice about their diets. They can silence us, but they can't silence the truth.
Hey, what are you doing?
Run!
And here's the part where I am not going to tell you to stop eating meat, as specified in my contract. But unfortunately, we can't really the planet without people in general eating less meat. But we're never gonna do that as long as Big Meat owns the entire agricultural system. I mean, think about this one mundane fact. A burger costs less than a salad. How is that possible? Oat milk is 4 times the price of dairy, and fake bacon still tastes like cardboard and seasonal depression. Meat isn't the only way that agriculture is torching the planet, but it sure is the most obvious. The good news is we can totally feed everyone sustainably. We just have to fix our up food system. The bad news is now we have to fix our up food system. But what if I told you we have an actual solution to this problem? A solution that isn't everyone goes on an all-hemp diet. It's true. It's right here. But I'm not going to tell you yet, because it's also so boring that if I did, you'd click away immediately. And the only thing more important than saving the planet is viewer retention. So by the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly what we need to do. I promise. But first, let's start at the beginning. Since the beginning of recorded history, man has been domesticating crops to, well, okay, we're not gonna do the whole history of agriculture, right? Like, we're trying to get people not to leave the video. Once upon a time, there was a huge dickhead named Thomas Malthus. Malthus believed there was a hard limit to how many people could live on the earth, probably somewhere around 1 billion. And any more than that would cause famine and destruction and the rapture. There's just no way to feed that many people. But where have we heard that one before? But Malthus wasn't just a dickhead, he was a wrong dickhead. Because there would be serious advances in agriculture like crop rotation, irrigation, fertilizer, and biotechnology. So today we're facing another dire prediction, one that would have made little Tommy Malthus drool. The Earth just can't keep feeding this many people. And that's true, sorta, but only until we do a little more innovating. And this time, that means solving meat and dairy's massive carbon and methane footprint. Or should I say, hoofprint? As I'm sure everyone with an internet connection knows, Kellogg of Kellogg's invented cornflakes because he believed a bland breakfast would prevent Americans from sinning. One sin in particular, the evils of self-love. As he put it, neither the plague, nor war, nor smallpox, nor similar diseases have produced results so disastrous to humanity. And if you thought that's embarrassing enough, wait till you see their newspaper ads. But those weren't his only claims to fame. Ol' No Nut Kellogg also invented nut meat, the first fake meat. Yes, this man's mission was to protect you from eating your meat and beating your meat. Man, Kellogg, Hitler, real rough century for vegetarians. Yet still, by 2011, over 100 years after the Kellogg nut meat, vegan meat remained depressing, with names like Fakin and Eddie's vaguely burger-like patties, and I can totally believe it's not pork. It was so depressing that a New York Times article described it as a kind of penitential wafer. You ate this bland, freeze-dried nutrient disk because you had to, your duty as someone who had forsaken the flesh. Damn it, Kellogg was right! But all that stuff is like when Adam Conover and I send mean tweets to each other to increase engagement. It's just fake beef. But what if we could make real beef just without cows?
I, for one, am in favor of that.
Who are you?
A concerned citizen.
Okay, well, we've been waiting for lab-grown meat for nearly 100 years, ever since Winston Churchill predicted that by the futuristic year of 1971, we would escape the absurdity of growing a whole chicken in order to eat the breast or wing by growing those parts separately. 1971? Wow, the only plant-based meat we saw in 1971 was in Led Zeppelin. Wait, what?
Robert Plant?
Who?
It's for the dad audience.
So you?
We can take that out.
Last we checked, they were working on growing just the fat part of the meat, cultured animal fat. Theoretically, by adding this to plant-based meat, it should make it taste like the real thing. Oh, that's gross? That's gross, is it? Tell me what kind of meat is in a hot dog, huh? Tumblr had people convinced for years that chicken nuggets were made of the pink slime from the Tubby custard machine. And people were like, sounds plausible, still eating them though. We'll eat just about anything, no matter how nasty it sounds, if it's delicious. And if these plant, animal, Frankenstein monstrosities are anything, they're probably delicious. No matter what, a big part of the climate solution is for us to eat less meat, which will only happen if our alternatives are delicious and affordable. But like I said, meat isn't the only problem, and plant-based, lab-grown meat isn't the only solution. They're just cool solutions, and we talked to a lot of alternative protein experts, so I had to tell someone, okay? There are plenty of other ways to farm more efficiently, feed more people, destroy the earth less, like instead of growing monocrops that degrade the land, farmers can do regenerative agriculture, or can grow crops that make sense in their biome. We can eat more locally. If it sounds like I'm really rapid-firing through these, it's because none of them matter. They're not profitable. Not, at least, without the solution. So here it is. I've built it up for so long now that it's probably going to be an even bigger letdown than if I just, all right, whatever. The big problem and the solution is... agricultural subsidies, baby! Hey man, what did I say? You're in it now. You can't click away. Remember how earlier I said none of this shit makes any sense? That's because it was designed not to. See, unlike the rest of the stuff we buy and sell, most governments heavily control the food supply because we need it to live and stuff. If we left food up to the whims of the free market, a single bad growing season could shut down all the farms and everyone starves. That's not great. Or, as Thomas Malthus would put it, great! Agriculture subsidies originated in the US as part of the New Deal, and they weren't a bad idea. Food prices too low, pay farmers to grow less food. Food prices too high, you get it. And yeah, it was a success, and because of that, subsidies that strictly controlled the price and supply of food were adopted by basically the rest of the world. But these subsidies have gone from saving the American economy to completely screwing everybody. A UN report found that nearly 90% of the $500 billion a year that is spent on agriculture subsidies is bad for humans and the planet. Even though we're only spending $500 billion on them, it's estimated that they cause between $4 and $6 trillion of damage per year. That is more than the combined net worth of every billionaire in America. Every single year.
From the creators of Stardew Valley comes Subsidy Valley. Do paperwork. Lobby governments. Do paperwork. Choose between 5 subsidized cash crops to grow. Will your little farm grow into the next giant agricultural conglomerate or be bought out by one? Probably the second one. Subsidy Valley, now with horrific factory farming.
Subsidies go mainly towards big factory farms. The subsidized crops in the States are corn, soy, wheat, cotton, and rice, and most of that either goes into processed food or overwhelmingly to feeding our cows. But crops that are healthy, that can be grown locally or in conjunction with regenerative agriculture practices, those are considered specialty crops and get far less special treatment. A Big Mac shouldn't be cheaper than a salad. In fact, if you account for all the subsidies and environmental damage, they should cost over $15. And is this money going towards all American farmers? No, it's going towards billion-dollar companies and their huge factory farms. Again, because that's how it's set up. Because of the lobbying from those companies. Wow, it's a nice paycheck for all of them, and we're all footing the bill. We're degrading and desertifying land, burning down rainforests, spraying stuff with toxic pesticides, vastly underpaying farmers, growing the wrong crops inefficiently in the wrong places and often way too much of them, and then throwing a third of all that food out because that's what makes financial sense. That's what's profitable. But we don't even need to do away with these subsidies. It's good that they're there. Farming shouldn't be a gamble or nobody would do it and then we'd all starve. We just need to unf them. We can pay people to avoid tillage, save water, restore degraded land, keep trees standing, and so on. Brazil, amongst others, does this in the form of payments for environmental services. And suddenly, not killing the planet is actually cost competitive. We could even spend some of those subsidies on researching things like plant-based meat. Imagine if we spent even a tiny, tiny fraction of that $500 billion on making something better than, like, oat milk. Seriously. Blended up oats, decades of veganism, billions of lactose-intolerant humans, and the best we got is a carton of liquid Cheerios that costs $6. In fact, our beloved Beyond Meat burger was partially funded by the USDA. We can also pay people to farm in ways that make sense. Growing a shit ton of rice in a flooded rice paddy in drought-stricken California when there's already a surplus of rice doesn't make sense, but it is subsidized. Instead, governments, particularly in Africa, have been experimenting with subsidizing crops that make sense to grow there. The EU is dedicating 20% of their subsidies to green subsidies, which make it lucrative to experiment with regenerative farming practices. And while factory farms may seem efficient, some studies show that if you include all the environmental costs, small local farms actually make more sense. Paying billionaires even more taxpayer money, doesn't. But you don't have to be an expert in subsidies to help. And if you're a keener who wants some extra credit, we've linked some easy ways to advocate for climate-smart food policies, whether you're a vegan or whatever Jordan Peterson is. And if you're gonna eat meat, and I'm not telling you not to eat meat,
we promised.
Maybe consider that all meats are not created equal from a carbon standpoint. There is an elephant in the meat locker, and that elephant is a cow.
Huh?
Look at this chart. When it comes to producing carbon and methane, beef is literally 10 times worse than chicken and pork and pretty much everything. So you can have an impact just by making your steaks rarer. Well, not rarer, less frequent. You get it. Order the chicken. And okay, if you look at all the great veggie-based protein at the very bottom of this chart, listen, it probably wouldn't kill you to eat less meat.
Okay, that does it.
Like veggie burgers are really good, and it's even better for the planet than not driving, and have you ever looked into a cow's eyes? Because once you do, you'll understand. Wow, we sure learned a lot today. If you like what you saw and want to see more, smash that subscribe button, smash that notification button, smash that like button, smash that share button, smash that comment button. Am I missing any? I think that's it.